Hello, everyone. This week I am excited to follow up on the topic that was discussed earlier about the nature of self-sacrifice. And I'd like to delve into this because it has profound impacts on how we interact with others and conduct our own lives. And I feel that there's a plethora of interpretations of it, but I'm going to kind of go through a few of the things that I feel are most relevant to me and how I navigate this issue, or if you can even call it that. I would say it's just another area of our existence that is no less important than something like giving and receiving. And I'm going to also get into that. So the first thing I want to bring up is, what is the purpose of it? Why would we have any kind of component of self-sacrifice? And I feel, for me at least, it's allowed me to shift from chaos to coherence. And when I say that, I'm referring to everyone. It's all of us. We all have moments which could span from minutes to years. We are just out of alignment with everything, and that's how it feels like every day. It's chaos. And when we don't have that coherence, and I talked about this in a previous video just before this with the heart and brain harmony, that's another form of coherence. But what I'm talking about more broadly is how we go about our lives. Do we have a purpose when we wake up in the morning? Because that's something that can impact something even like aging. If you don't have that purpose, your body's going to tune into that, and with how everything works in aging, inflammation in the cells, that can really have a profound impact on how long you live and the quality of that life. So it's really important to have a coherence and an alignment with a purpose, a passion, and being in a community with everyone on this planet. Another thing that having self-sacrifice is important for is discovering your own answers. And I believe that we have answers within ourselves, but even if you've read Solomon Speaks, there is an emphasis on finding it with others. And I believe there's a whole chapter on that. You find yourself when you're with others. And so that goes back to the sense of community where you need that alignment. And there's been studies on this sorts of thing where you need to have the social connections to fully get the most out of life, and that it really culminates in just having that love, self-love and love for others, because we are, contrary to what schools have taught us, beings that function optimally in cooperation. And there were a ton of studies done on this. I'm going to speak into it briefly with Darwinian theories and evolution. And they wanted to look into how much violent competition is optimal for the greatest output of a community. It was none. There was none. Competition is great for motivating, but when you start getting into a more violent form of it, there really is no room for that. Cooperation is where we grow the most, love the most, and really energize our lives to the greatest extent. Another thing that is important for shifting that balance that comes out of this is we are able to dissolve ideas of others and separateness. And one of my favorite quotes that I've heard is that the concept of others is false. And so the student asks the master, how do I help others? The master says, there is no others. I found that pretty amazing. These are also illusions too, and we know all about those. Another thing that comes about for me when I think of the purpose is that it allows us to liberate the ego, not completely get rid of it. We do need it, and we can fill our space with opportunity. We're not creating space. Space is there, but we can create something else, or rather attract more, like love, to fill that space. And that talks magnitudes when it comes to giving and receiving. So for self-sacrifice, where does it belong? Like, I mean, if we do need it, where should it be in our lives? I think it's a great guide because it allows us to find that coherence. But when it comes to the self in general, that also has a place too. And I think that's profound for introspection and quelling inner storms. Solomon talks about this, how we have to take care of ourselves before we help others, because you're going to need to have that inner coherence inside. You need to be balanced to help others. but you can also grow and love together. So you should have that stable foundation first and foremost before you really reach out to others to help heal them. At least for me, that's what I've found with my experience. And the biggest thing that came up for me when thinking about this is that when I had a huge injury about 4 years ago now, I was horribly underweight, sick. I had an injury that was like a paralysis. I could hardly do anything, walk, drive, get in and out of bed. And for a long time, and even now, I still carry guilt with that because I saw everything in my life falling apart from when my dad had his brain injury. He was in the hospital, seeing him like that. What killed me the most about that whole incident and just that horrible time in my life was that I looked at him and I couldn't bring myself to tears. I was numb from the pain and turmoil that were taking over my life. I had to watch my mom cry, my sister have, well, I heard about this later, have nightmares about this. And, I was brought to my knees by the injuries and everything that was going on in my life, from the OCD, anxiety, and everything. I had to watch people fall apart, and I couldn't help them. So I think we really do need the self in this matter. We need it to help us. But what I'm trying to say is that we really need to have that part of us aligned with our purpose and passion before we branch out. You branch out from something that's unstable, then it's going to crumble. And for me, it happened in such a destructive and cataclysmic manner that I couldn't do anything. So when you want to transform it, because I don't believe sacrifice is the best word for self, I think it should be transformed. It's not a sacrifice in that you're giving it up, but rather you are, I'm trying to think of the best word for it, you're just redirecting your attention outside of yourself. But you don't need to tune back into yourself because it's already stabilized and you have that core to fall back upon when you need it. Because you are going to, whether you think so or not, everyone has dark moments, whether it's daily, monthly, yearly, whatever. You're going to need a solid core spiritually to fall back upon. And the best way that I've been able to describe this, and I've talked about it before, is when you're transforming this, you are moving from experience to awareness. And that's how I've been able to reconcile this self-sacrifice. I prefer it as like a realignment of sorts. Anyway, that's my perspective on this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, please leave it in the comment section below, and I'd love to hear from you.